What is up, my comic nerds? Welcome back to another video here in the channel. Today, we're going to be discussing the perfect comic book universe. Now, for one, if you've seen the thumbnail, you have my personal answer. Now, before people start outrageously start screaming, have their pitchforks ready. Gosh, there's someone outside my window that has a sniper. I don't know what that is, but first off, let me make one thing clear. We're allowed to have our opinions. Second off, I'm going to just list off my personal opinion and why I personally think this universe in particular is the best for superhero adaptations. Okay, so for a while, superhero adaptations in terms of any form of media, rather if that's a TV show, movies, animated stuff, all the heck, even video games. Even video games is one. I just realized it. Those adaptations have lasted a while and have become very, very normal for any of the big heavy hitter superheroes to get a successful adaptation of, rather if that's a TV show or movie. Heck, just a while ago we got a TV show based off Peacemaker a while ago. Prior to that, he was featured in the Suicide Squad movie. No one's ever heard of a Peacemaker before until then. But nowadays, people know Peacemaker, so that says a lot about what these adaptations could say. Heck, you could say the same for Creature Commandos too, and the Guardians. All those were envisioned by James Gunn, and without them, I'm pretty much sure you wouldn't know about these guys if it wasn't for their adaptations. So clearly, adaptations is a lot. Could give these unknown names a very household feeling to it once afterwards. So what is the best out of all of them? Now, there's so many to the point where it's so overly complicated to the point where we'd have to make a whole nother video on that. But I feel more essentially there's only a few that you could actually probably list off. And the most recognizable one is probably Marvel's MCU. Now, Marvel's MCU is very, very amazing. Honestly, it's a masterpiece of a universe. Not because I'm a comic nerd or anything, but because simply how it revolutionized superheroes in a way that I feel most audiences wouldn't be aware of them now if not for it. Afterwards of the success of the MCU, literally every big corporation tried to get in on that and tried to make their own big cinematic universe. Do you guys remember the Monsterverse? Heck, I'm pretty much sure there was a dark universe made by Universal, but that didn't end up doing well. So I guess not. Cinematic universes do well, but clearly, these attempts at making comics a reality have been a very, very big important step when it comes to it. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has had some rough patches throughout these past few years, and over here on DC, they're trying to rebuild their reputation too. Sure, Marvel back then in their Infinity Saga was peak Marvel. Every movie was a great watch, but eventually post Endgame, not to sound like the regular person, but post Endgame, low key, it kind of fell off a bit. They gave us a few questionable projects. We have She-Hulk, Black Widow. Black Widow wasn't. I thought Black Widow was okay, personally. I'm not sure if that's just me, but pretty much I think Black Widow's okay. So Marvel's gave us adaptations of stuff that I felt was kind of useless, and most of that stuff's probably going to be forgotten. Heck, the Moon Knight show was also pretty good too, but Marvel hasn't done anything about it since it came out. Pretty much that came out 4 years ago, 5 years ago already. So yeah, Marvel's cinematic universe did kind of fall off a bit, but they're rebuilding it. And honestly, I think it all started in Guardians 3. Because we would get occasionally good projects, but Marvel's already giving us quality banger content again, such as X-Men 97, Daredevil Born Again, such a good one. And plenty more, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Clearly Marvel's trying to rebuild their brand. And sure, some of these projects didn't make them big damage, but they're trying to show the audience, hey, we still got quality content. However, if you look at the other spectrum, DC isn't really doing that well and is also trying to rebuild it. Zack Snyder's DCAU kind of damaged the branding a lot. Because nowadays people assume that Superman isn't that interesting unless he's evil. Guys, pick up I'm going to give y'all 3 Superman books to read. Just trust me on this. Superman Birthright, Kingdom Come, and All-Star Superman. I know there's like the basic, I know there's like the most basic options, but for what's like more accessible for everyone, I'm pretty much sure those are your best bets right now. All right, I'm pretty much sure those are your good bets. But yeah, adaptations, like I said, could do a lot. It could either make or break a character's like philosophy and mythology. Superman was once like someone that said that was once someone so upbeat and cheerful, but thanks to Zack Snyder, it kind of went down a bit. But this isn't a Snyder hate video. I'm pretty much sure that's another video. But aside from that, so like I said earlier, what is the best comic book adaptation? So, in my opinion, way back in the 90s and early 2000s, the DCAU. Look, I can't say much because I was not born in this generation. I was not born in the late 90s where the dinosaurs were still alive. So, I can't say much about it. I can't say much about how everyone is and how everyone's receiving, how much people love the DCAU. But I'm going to go based off of what I know and based off, everything I've seen. Guys, it's genuinely, I feel like, the best comic book, not comic book universe of any adaptation. So, let me preach for a moment. The DCAU was an animated universe featuring DC's big characters, such as Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Heck, even Flash, too. However, some of them didn't get shows, some of them did. It's confusing, but essentially essentially each project kind of separated from each other too. And DC wasn't afraid to take original risks. They made shows like Static Shock and Batman Beyond. Guys, Batman Beyond goes so incredible. Without it, I don't think I would have the Zack Attack I have right now, bro. Without Batman Beyond and Spider-Man, in a way. But why is this so much better? Well, let's take the look at the best contender right now, the MCU. The MCU post-Infinity Saga was, pre-Endgame, felt, very easy to get into. Just dive into one movie. It could have gone in any order. I could have started at the first... You just have to start at the first ever, movie of anybody. So I could just start at the first Captain America movie, the first Hulk movie. Actually, the only Hulk movie. The first Iron Man. It was so easy to get into, but nowadays, look at what you have to catch up on. You have to catch up on Infinity Saga, and now currently up to the Multiverse Saga, where Doom is about to arrive, and the universe low-key might get rebooted, but I don't think so, because I think they're already planning to make the X-Men movie. So yeah, clearly that's very overly complicated to get into too. However, there's also other small things that you also got to notice, like the Secrets of the Ten Rings and stuff, and other stuff like that. And the concept of collisions and how that could lead to the multiverse ending. There's so many projects you have to watch to fully understand, to the point where it feels like a chore. Okay? It feels like a chore oftenly that you need to watch this to understand this. And eventually it's going to lead to some metal guy in a green cloak just ready to destroy everyone and might recreate this amazing panel. I don't know. Just saying. Just saying. You should probably recreate it. You guys should probably recreate it anytime soon. The Russo brothers, if you're watching this, I expect 90% of the profit, This is a joke, by the way. I'm in full panic mode. I don't know why I am. But yeah, all of this is such a big chore to get into. But compare it to the DCAU. Literally, it's not leading up to some big traumatic event. To be fair, all of these are TV shows. And TV shows isn't meant to be taken in the aspect as movies. So it makes sense in a way. But you see how oftenly that every cinematic universe eventually leads to that big bang event level threat. And everyone just has to team up. The DCAU is completely different. Literally, you could start at any show you want. And I'm going to get into another topic about genres. Any show you want, and you just start it. And then you could just go to Justice League, and that's it. Any show you want. It's You don't need to watch Batman to understand Batman Beyond. You don't need to understand Static Shock from Superman. You don't need to understand anything prior to that release of the show you're watching. And I think that's very, very simple and yet so effective. Gosh, my bad. It's so simple, but yet so effective in a way where it's like, this is just so easy to get into. Like I'm telling you, my first ever introduction to Batman was Batman Beyond. And personally, Terry McGinnis was my favorite Batman. He still is my favorite Batman. I will fight anyone that says that Terry McGinnis is a bad Batman. Actually, he kind of is. I mean, he's kind of a bad, ruthless person. I'm thinking about it. We all make mistakes. Even if that did lead to a traumatic event. But to be fair, you could say that for any superhero origin story. So, yeah, with the DCAU, you don't need to catch up to anything prior to whatever show you're watching. As to Marvel, where you need to catch up on, like, 3, like, sagas worth of, like, a decade's worth of movies. Just to understand why Robert Downey Jr. himself is arriving again. When we thought he just died, like, 6 years ago. So, yeah. Another thing, genre. I'm going to take up DC's prior example to the new DCAU, the new DCU, the DCEU. Every single movie here was low-key having the same vibe here. Dark, gritty. Except that good Wonder Woman movie, but that was the only good Wonder Woman movie. But every single vibe just didn't feel different from each other. I feel like, oh, I like Superman more than I like this Superman more than this world's Batman, because so on so. However, with the DCAU, it's all split into different genres. Batman Beyond is a sci-fi adventure featuring a futuristic Batman in a futuristic city. So that leads into the sci-fi audience that wants to get a good, like, nerd session out of it. Superman the Animated Series, more of an upbeat story, and more of a, like, upbeat story about a happy, cheerful Superman that just wants to save the day to make people happy and make them feel safe. Static Shock. Guys, his name is Static. Okay? For the final time. If I hear anyone call him Static Shock, I'm about to crash out. Because to be fair, his name is Static. People call him Static Shock because it's the name of the show. I'm telling you, his real name is Static. Like the name of his superhero, his name is Static. I just had to get that out of my system, gosh. But Static Shock was a coming-of-age story about, like, a young boy who just learns to be a superhero. It's a coming-of-age story. Batman's more of a dark, more mature noir show, and that's kind of the whole vibe of Batman in general. But the Justice League is kind of all that combined together, but, like, makes each other so perfectly. So, after everything I just listed, compare that to Marvel again. Sure, some shows actually have different vibes off each other, but for the amount of the things that you have to catch up to it, like I said, it's just so much to the point where it's like, oh, why is this guy doing this? Because of this. Not to say I hate the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay? But it feels such like an overwhelming amount of stuff to watch. But at the same time, it's divided into genres. But at the same time, it feels like Marvel's kind of having to rebuild their success all over again. Because here's what happened. Back then, they had to sell all their properties because they were going bankrupt back then, by the way. So that's why we didn't get Spider-Man or the X-Men in the MCU until, like, way later on down the road because of these lawsuit issues and realizing that, like, they got their money back, but they lost the characters within the process. So it was kind of a big deal, a big legal battle. They're still debating it with Spider-Man. Sony, we do not want a Madam Web Part 2, okay? So just don't do so. Oh, wait, look at here. They're said that they're going to stop. It's actually way better. Better for the world. But, man, I still would like for Avengers Doomsday to end off. And then, like, for Secret Wars, you just hear, it's Morbin time. That would have been absolute cinema, in my opinion. But regardless, the fact is that DC is trying to rebuild their, like, predecessors and everything. Like, they're trying to rebuild what they had. When they could just simply take it from the DCAU. And it looks like they're doing it, too. They literally, like, kind of copy and pasted the Superman from the DCAU. And I think that worked very, very well for what we had from this year's Superman movie, or last year's Superman movie. Same thing with Peacemaker. Peacemaker was more of a political, kind of more mature, rated R show to watch. So, yeah, it's all divided into different genres. And that's kind of what I'm doing with my universe, too. If you could see, I made like a short a while back explaining it. But every character in my universe is trying to be its own separate genre for its own audience. You know, some people may not like Superman the animated series, but they like the sci-fi-ness of Batman Beyond. Now, say the same for the DCEU. I liked when Superman killed that person. When Batman's literally out here playing, like, pulling out blickies like this is Fortnite. So clearly, it's all having to be separate definition for it. Because, no, regardless, it feels like everyone could get a bit out of the DCU, and you may not like it all, but you could get your personal, passionate, like, show within the DCAU in it to have. Another thing really is that how easy it is to get into it. Like I said, it's very easy to get into it. But another thing is the stories that they actually tackle. Sure, they may not be tackling big, major storyline comics or events, but you get, like, so many variety of seasons to the character where it's like, I know the definition of Superman. He's supposed to be an upbeat symbol, symbolic of hope. I mean, All Might is the symbol of hope. But that's probably for Japan. All Might Superman's Japan, which is another video I actually got to do. But with the amount of content that you're getting from these shows, you get the true definition of these characters. However, if you look at Marvel, they're constantly having to kind of change their... My bad cough. Filming this under a blanket. But for Marvel, they constantly change their characters for the sake of... Not for shock value, but just for the sake of changing their characters. For one take example, will be... Let's see. Hulk. Look at what they did to my boy. Post-Endgame. They made him smart. Okay, sure, they made bro smart, but that's it. Look at what they had to do just to give him that one character trait. But then take example for something like Superman. With the amount of seasons you're getting, you get the true definition of him. And take the example from the other side, the DCAU, the DCEU. Look at what you had to happen for you to understand, like, not the concept, to understand the definition of Superman. You literally had none of that within that video. Same thing with that version's Batman. Literally, he pulled up like if he was playing Fortnite, bro. So clearly, what we could tell is that these adaptations give them a big brand name. Cut the voice crack. No, I'm joking, but yeah, the name of the brands and what these adaptations impact could really change a person's definition, a character's definition. Like I said earlier, the Guardians was, like, very, very unpopular back then. But thanks to James Gunn, they were able to bring it back. And not gonna lie, I'm planning on making a whole nother video on how we could bring back, like, how the DCU could change, and in a good way. And I feel like this should be a great example for anyone trying to make a connected universe in general. Just have them all divided into different genres. Or if you're trying to aim for something different, not gonna lie, the MonsterVerse may not be the best example, but it's a good example, alright? I'll tell you that. But dividing it into different genres, like I said, gives everyone a bit of that, what they want. And I'll be honest, I'm gonna get a lot of hatred. I didn't like Static Shock that much. Okay? I didn't like it that much. Maybe I'll like it later down the road, but I just didn't like it as much. But if I compare it to something like Batman Beyond, like, I love Batman Beyond so much, bro. So it makes sense. In conclusion, man, an adaptation could break or make a character. And I hope to see that people will try to make more universes out there. And at the end of the day, guys, I feel like it's another thing to mention that it's not the big corporation logo that's actually doing the work. It's the directors, the comic writers, and the source material in general that should be thanked. Those guys are the absolute legends here that give us the true definition of who these characters are. And without it, we wouldn't get any of these adaptations. And personally, I feel like we got to celebrate those writers too. Because as much as, like, you know, we think that, like, oh, Marvel's the good guy, like, Marvel's the savior. Respectfully, it's the authors that save them. Because without the authors, where would Marvel be? We still got Stan Lee printing out issues of The Amazing Spider-Man while they reset the timeline again. So, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notification bells. And gosh, I still got to work on that Omniverse thing. Gosh, so help me, bro. My eyes. Anyways, later, folks, and have a good night. Or good morning. God, I should really just shut my mouth. I'm thinking about it.